Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Camila, and today I'm doing a bit of a surprise video. So basically, I just saw on BookTube, on Eric Carl Anderson's channel to be specific, that the Baillie Gifford has done basically a 25th anniversary special edition, shortlist, a winner of winners as they called it. And I was just like, oh my god, that's so exciting. I want to know more. I'm always in to get onto a prize bandwagon. So I just thought I'd look at the shortlist, see what the books are, see if I might have any plans on reading them. Lols. I am in the middle of reading for the Women's Prize for Fiction, so we shall see. But I'm always interested in learning more. And if these are the best of the best. But let's dive right in and look at what this shortlist looks like. So, they said the shortlist of 6 books were chosen by the Winner of Winners award judging panel. They made a selection out of the previous 24 prize-winning books. So to this year, 2023, is their 25th anniversary, which is why they're doing this. And so they've picked 6. Let's see what they are. So the first one is 1, 2, 3, 4, The Beatles in Time by Craig Brown from the UK. This was a winner in 2020. I thought I'd seen the cover recently, actually. Might have seen it on BookTube, might have seen it at the charity shop. I don't know. But I'm interested. I really don't know much. I'm not very good with music. My husband's a musician. I'm not good. But we watched, I think it was on Disney, there was a far too long documentary about the Beatles. And we, spent our evenings watching it for a while. But yeah, it's just very interesting to learn about it, to learn about the songs. And one of my favorite movies growing up was Across the Universe, which is basically a bunch of covers, which actually is going to tell you a lot about me. These are the first time that I heard a lot of the Beatles songs. They were covers in that movie. I just love movies more than I like music, clearly. But anyway, so interesting. So what does it say? 1, 2, 3, 4 traces the chance fusion of the 4 key elements that made up the Beatles. Fire, John. Water, Paul. Air, George. And earth, Ringo. Interesting. It also tells us the bizarre and often unfortunate tales of the disparate and colorful people within their orbit. Among them, Fred Lennon, Yoko Ono, the Maharishi, Aunt Mimi, Helen Shapiro, the con artist Magic Alex, Phil Spector, their psychedelic dentist John Riley, and their failed nemesis, Detective Sergeant Normal Pilcher. I'm just so confused by any of this. I mean, the only name that I recognize there is Yoko Ono, obviously, as someone who doesn't really know them. From the best-selling author of Ma'am Darling comes a kaleidoscopic mixture of history, etymology, diaries, autobiography, fan letters, essays, parallel lives, party lists, charts, interviews, announcements, and stories. 1, 2, 3, 4 joyfully echoes the frenetic early burly of an era. It sounds chaotic as hell, and I'm into it. It does say here that it's 656 pages. Just like that documentary. Too long. The second book is Into the Silence, The Great War, Mallory, and the Conquest of Everest. This was by Wade Davis from Canada. And this was the prize winner in 2012, actually. So, if the quest for Mount Everest began as a grand imperial gesture, as redemption for an empire of explorers that had lost the race to the poles, it ended as a mission of regeneration for a country and the people bled white by war. Of the 26 British climbers who on 3 expeditions between 1921 and 1924 walked 400 miles off the map to find and assault the highest mountain on Earth, 26 had seen the worst of the fighting. 6 had been severely wounded, 2 others nearly killed by disease at the front, 1 hospitalized twice with shell shock. 3 as army surgeons dealt with the duration with the agonies of the dying. 2 lost brothers killed in action. All had endured the slaughter and the coughing of the gun, the bones and barbed wire, the white faces of the dead. In the monumental works of history and adventure, 10 years in the writing, Wade Davis asked not whether George Mallory was the first to reach the summit of Everest, but rather why he kept on climbing on that fateful day. His answer lies in a single phrase uttered by one of the survivors as they retreated from the mountain. The price of life is death. Mallory walked on because for him, as for all his generation, death was but a frail barrier that men crossed smiling and gallant every day. Oh, I feel like I got emotional reading that. That sounds amazing. Obviously, like the link with having gone through war and then, attempting one of the biggest challenge on earth. And also, I'm really interested with just Everest generally. A friend of mine's a climber, and she kind of made me interested in those stories many years ago when we were traveling together. And she made me watch one of the movies about one of the Everest disasters. And it's just so fascinating that people push so hard. And I would never be one of those people. But yeah, incredible. And that book, I think that book's going on my TBR like immediately. That was just reading this was just really emotional and beautiful. So I look forward to actually seeing what this book is. And it does say it's 655 pages. Technically, that's 1 page shorter than about the Beatles. The third book nominated is Nothing to Envy: Real Lives in North Korea by Barbara Demick from the US. This is really interesting because I literally just finished In Order to Live by Yeonmi Park, which was about her journey growing up in North Korea and escaping from North Korea. So, for Nothing to Envy, the blur says, through extensive interviews with defectors, Los Angeles Times journalist Barbara Demick shows in a compelling and unforgettable way that this hermetic country is Orwell's 1984 made reality. Demick follows the stories of 6 North Korean citizens, 2 lovers who dated secretly for a decade and feared to criticize the regime to each other, a young homeless boy, an idealistic woman doctor, woman doctor, a factory worker who loves King Il-sung more than her own family, and her rebellious daughter. In the totalitarian regime where they lived, all radio and television broadcasts are government-sponsored. Gone with the Wind is a dangerous, banned book, and during political rallies, spies study your expression to check your sincerity. It is the only country in the world not connected to the internet. Yeah, again, like I said, I'm really interested by that. And just to hear more in different voices as well. Obviously, I've now read Park's experience and journey, but to read more would be really fascinating. So yeah, it sounds really, really eye-opening. Oh, it's getting dark here. We still have 3 books to go. Let's go. So in fourth, we have Empire of Pain: The Secret History of the Sackler Dynasty by Patrick Radden Keefe. This one just a couple of years ago, isn't it? Yeah, 2021. So I've definitely heard of it. I feel like I just joined BookTube and then it was like everywhere. And I'm sure I've seen that one in the charity shop and I didn't pick it up because I'm not gonna lie, reading about drugs, not my cup of tea. So what does it say? The Sackler name adorns the wall of many storied institutions. Harvard, the Metropolitan Museum of Art, Oxford, the Louvre. They are one of the richest families in the world, known for their lavish donations to the arts and the sciences. The source of the family fortune was vague, however, until it emerged that the Sacklers were responsible for making and marketing a blockbuster painkiller that was the catalyst for the opiate crisis. Empire of Pain begins with the story of 3 doctor brothers, Raymond Mortimer and the incalculably energetic Arthur, who weathered the poverty of the Great Depression and appalling anti-Semitism. Working at a barbaric mental institution, Arthur saw a better way and conducted groundbreaking research into drug treatments. He also had a genius for marketing, especially for pharmaceuticals, and bought a small ad firm. Empire of Pain is a masterpiece of narrative reporting and writing, exhaustively documented and ferociously compelling. It is a portrait of the excesses of America's second Gilded Age, a study of impunity among the super elite, and a relentless investigation of the naked greed and indifference to human suffering that built one of the world's great fortunes. Actually, that sounds really interesting. If it's more about like actually the dynasty and like how it all came to be, sounds interesting. I would maybe give like audiobook a try. I feel like sometimes with nonfiction that helps me, especially when there's subject that maybe I'm not like super keen to read about. So maybe. So next we have a book by Margaret Macmillan. This book technically has 2 titles. It was previously called Peacemakers: The Paris Conference of 1919 and Its Attempt to End War, but it's now known under Paris 1919, 6 Months That Changed the World. This was first published in 2001 and it was the winner in 2002. There's a short blurb for this one. It says, this book brings together the personalities, ideals, and prejudices of the people who shaped the Paris Peace Conference of 1919, after the war to end all wars. Macmillan argues that the peacemakers, at its heart the 3 great leaders, Woodrow Wilson, Lloyd George, and Clemenceau, have been unfairly made scapegoats for the mistakes of those who came later. It offers a prismatic view of the moment when much of the modern world was first sketched out. That sounds interesting, but also I feel like this is too short to tell me what that's actually about. Is it about the men? Is it about the 6 months? Did it take 6 months to talk about it? I don't really know. I mean, it sounds interesting, but because of the repercussions, of what happened after that, as well as those who know more of history know. But I don't know. I don't know if this book hasn't really sold it to me. But anyway, finally, the last book on the list is 1599, A Year in the Life of William Shakespeare by James Shapir from the US. This was the prize winner in 2006. And it seems one of the shortest ones. It says hardcover 352. So, in the course of 1599, Shakespeare turned 35. Before the end of the year, he had completed Henry V, written Julius Caesar and As You Like It, in quick succession, and produced the first draft of his greatest play, Hamlet. If Shakespeare in Love playfully imagined how Shakespeare was inspired to write the Romeo and Juliet, Shapir was determined to show how the bard progressed from his tale of two star-crossed lovers to Hamlet. Shapir finds one question to the most pressing: how did Shakespeare become Shakespeare? And in so doing, thereby become one of the greatest writers to ever live. Interesting, actually. I think I would add this one to my TBR. Because it sounds interesting. I feel like I'm more compelled into this one, maybe because we all know Shakespeare more. So I read the winner for 2022, which was Super Infinite by Katherine Rundell. And I guess I didn't really know anything about John Donne, so it didn't really, attract me that much. And I didn't really relate. I didn't, couldn't really tell about any of his writing. So I feel like Shakespeare has more of this kind of global quality where, all of us who especially have studied English literature have heard of him and read his plays. Most of us have seen adaptation in film, so I think that sounds cool, actually. And especially to see his actual potential development and stuff, and to read that he did all of that by 35. I've finished like one draft of a really poor novel up to now. I guess I have a year and a half. Anyway, this was really great to look at these books, and I feel like this prize really puts me out of my comfort zone. I love nonfiction, but I don't really gravitate toward these kinds of titles. I don't really read anything about history that much, or science, or like that kind of stuff. So I think it's gonna be great. I look forward to seeing the winner. The winner is gonna be announced on the 27th of April. I saw it announced in Edinburgh, so if anyone from the committee sees this, I would love to be invited. I live nearby, so I can be there and represent the booktube community. But yeah, I look forward to seeing who the winner of winners is going to be. It's going to be quite the title to hold. As of now, I don't really have a prediction because I haven't read any of these books. I love to make uneducated picks. Out of all these, to me, I'm not gonna lie, I think I would go with Into the Silence, The Great War, Mallory and the Conquest of Everest by Wade Davis. But I don't know what they're looking for. I have not read any of these books. I can't tell on the writing or, the storytelling. But this is the one that is definitely appealing to me the most. I have a feeling potentially Empire of Pain is going to win. I feel like people have been going on about it so much. But again, that's just because it's quite recent. Like, I don't know what people were saying in 2005 when one of these books, won. So yeah, so we'll see. Have you read any of these, or what did you think? Do you have a thought on who might win out of these 6 books? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you so much for watching. And hey, see you back. Bye!